Hi guys, and welcome to the Ace Tanker video for the French Tier 4 Heavy, the B1. This is my first ever game in the B1, and I am very happy to have been able to pull off an Ace Tanker. It's not quite as impressive as it sounds, though, getting an Ace Tanker in your first game, because even though this is a brand new tank for me, I do have the PZB2, the Panzer B2, which is the German Tier 4 Heavy, and it is the same tank. So I have played this tank before, just the German version of it, or I should say the captured German version of it. So I'm fairly familiar with the strengths and weaknesses of the tank, but particularly the armor. This thing is an armored beast, and the major difference between the captured PZB2 and the French B1 is the gun. The PZB2 has a very poor gun, and the gun on the B1 isn't bad. Not great, but it's not bad. Certainly not as bad as the PZB2. So yeah, even though it's the first game, I do feel familiar with this tank, and I do feel as if I've played it before. But let's just get going. We are here on Redshire. And I've gotten a very favorable matchup for the first game in the B1, and I am top tier in a tier 4 game. Not too many TDs on the enemy team, and just one RT in play. So Redshire is a very campy map, lots of sniping going on, which is fine if you like that sort of gameplay. But that sort of gameplay doesn't suit the B1. The B1 needs to be able to put its armor to use. It's not a sniper, and sitting up on the ridge sniping with this tank, especially as I'm top tier heavy, would be a complete waste. So I notice that most of the enemy team seem to be inexperienced, and that leads me to believe that most of the enemy team are probably going to congregate around F9. They like to go up to the hill and camp. So I decide to put my armor to the use and head down here to the corner at B9, and I'm not expecting to meet too much resistance down here, but enemy scout shows up, and we managed to put a shot in. So even though my crew are at 75% and it's a fairly new crew, yeah, gun seems behaving itself. So there's a lot of fire coming down from the ridge. I've just taken a big hit, but I've got plenty of armor. So I decide to go after the T50. So the turret traverse on this tank is surprisingly good. The traverse itself is pretty good, and for a heavy tank, a lot of low tier players underestimate it. So the T50 was trying to circle me, and he couldn't. So I'm popping up here to try and let my binocs go to put my binocs into use. I'm still taking fire, but at this range, my armor should be able to handle it. Yeah, and the gun really does seem to be behaving itself. So I spoke too soon. So enemy RT is still interested in me, so I stay on the move. I don't want to be a sitting target for RT. So I advance a little, and I'm just trying to get into a position where I can get my binocs into use. Tree falling. We know there are still lots of enemy tanks up there. Okay, M3 Lee. And gun starts to let me down a little bit. I'm having problems penning the Lee. But this Lee seems to be on a mission. So I'm taking more fire from the hill. Don't have a lot of health left, but the M3 Lee is a forward-mounted gun, so all I need to do is avoid his gun and get to his side. And there we go. Welcome to the M3 Lee. So, next one up is a T-46. Oh, and he's brought a friend. He's got an LTP friend. So I'm bouncing on the LTP. But T-46 is trying to flank me, and he's the bigger danger. So I put a tank between myself and the LTP, use it for some cover, take care of the T-46, and thankfully my arty take care of the LTP. But in the meantime, lots of enemies on the ridge. So there goes the first one. And T-82 advancing through the river, so I relocate to deal with him. But I don't have any shots. And again, he gets taken out by a Hetzer. And that's pretty much it for the game. The tank isn't the fastest. It's not that slow, but it's not the fastest. And I'm just going to speed it up to 4 times here. There's a Matilda over there. I am wondering whether or not I'll be able to damage it, but I don't need to worry. Pretty much all the enemy tanks die before I get there. So, I do have a shot briefly on the DW2. Oh, but he dies before I can get my gun settled. So there we go. And how did we do? So, as mentioned, first game in the B1, and we end up with a mastery badge. We end up with cool-headed, survived 10 ricochets and non-penetrations in a row. The B1 has really, really good armor, especially at range, and especially if you can get into a situation where you can side scrape with it, but we didn't in that particular game. We also ended up with steel wall, and we'll take a look at the team score, and 967 damage, so that wasn't... I think I could have done a lot better, and I think I will be doing a lot better. I'll be in this tank for a while to before moving on to the next one, and I'm just getting started, so I think I'm going to have higher damage games in the B1. 4 kills and nice 907 XP. So how did we get cool-headed and steel wall? Well, we received 28 hits, only 6 of which were penetrations, so 22 bounces on the B1, with a potential damage received of 1,719. And this is a tier 4 heavy, and I think it's going to be capable of a lot more before I'm done with it. We even managed to get 302 spotting damage, which was nice, and the gun, although I wasn't too happy with it during the game, it was okay. 35 shots, 26 hits, and again I was firing the gun over distance. Of the 26 hits, 23 were penetrations, so it wasn't a bad performance from a 75% crew and a gun that isn't that great. We ended up with a healthy profit of 24,720, and we received doubled on a premium account 2,720 XP. So first ever game in the B1. I think I'm going to like this tank. I'll see you next time.